Hi, everyone. This is Diane Moxley with New Jersey Revolution Radio. We have an activist panel this evening, but I believe Brian is going to do our beg for money pitch, and then I'm going to intro
our panel. I got some more interesting stuff than begging for money. I'm going to beg for money. But first, I want to tell you about some of the cool stuff we're doing when we get the money that we beg for. As I've been telling people about the Community Cannabis Forum coming up on April 4th. That's going to be at the Mount Zion Baptist Church in Pleasantville, New Jersey. 353 New Road is the exact location from 7 to 9 p.m. Details, of course, are on our Facebook page, and we'll be putting out some stuff on the website this coming week so we can get you there. But I think this is an important time. We talked about this a little bit on my show last night. The law may not pass. Whether it does or doesn't, it's a shitty law. And there's a lot of activism to be done around this. If we want to include social justice in our drug laws, we have to fight for it. And I think the corporate America and moneyed interests are really controlling that legislation. And if we get some time to work on it and get some time to organize around it, I think there's a lot of need there for grassroots activism around that cause. So please, come on out. Of course, we'll live stream it. It's free to show up, though. We've got some sponsors. I believe we have one sponsor whose business cards turn into a hash pipe. So, I think we've got, so that alone, hopefully will get us a few more visitors to that. Come on out. Details again on our Facebook page. And as you can see, I don't look like I'm in my normal setting here. I look like I'm in a basement. That's because I am in a basement. We are moving New Jersey Revolution Radio Studios right now is being built, and we certainly could use your support. We're trying to upgrade our equipment, our lighting, and everything we do to make the activist community look good. It's important that our media, our independent media, puts a good face on the important work that's done by all of our partners out there in New Jersey and around the country. So if you can help, and you can go to www.njrevolutionradio.com, make a contribution there. Every little bit helps. $5 a month, $10 a month. I mean, those things add up, and they really have kept us going for the last year. So thanks to everybody that's given. And if you can give a little, we appreciate it. Diane, looking forward to the panel this week.
Okay, thanks. So with us this evening, we have Ted Glick. He is a longtime activist. I know I've seen him with activism in New Jersey. We have done activism together down in DC. Maybe other places. That's what I can think of off the top of my head. And let's see, we have Jocelyn Sawyer with us today. And Jocelyn is with Food and Water Watch. And she's going to tell us a little bit about her org in a moment and what she's been doing there. We have Ruben Mendez with us. He is an organizer with Extinction Rebellion in New York, which hopefully will also be getting some more traction with Extinction Rebellion in New Jersey, and hopefully we can get Ruben's help with that.
That's good.
And I know Ruben is also a union organizer. So we have some different perspectives in the next panel.
Mm-hmm.
So first, if you guys want to give our viewers a little bit more about what you have been doing over the years and what you're most active with today. So Ted, do you want to start?
Sure. I had to unmute there. Well, let's see. For the last 15 or 16 years, I have prioritized the climate crisis as the issue that I believe is the most important issue. There's certainly many other important issues, but when you're talking about the future of all life on Earth, not just human life, and the impacts that a escalating climate crisis will have on ecosystems, on people, on human societies, on animals, on all life forms, that's pretty important. And when I got involved with this 15, 16 years ago, there were some of us active, but it's really changed a lot. There's a lot more activism on this issue, which is certainly a good thing. We're essentially in a race to see if we can transform at the very least, transform the energy systems of the world away from fossil fuels, and for that matter, nuclear power, to green, clean, renewable energy, energy efficiency, conservation, and so on. And from there, we can just keep going with all the other changes that also need to happen. So that's kind of a quick little summary.
Okay, thanks, Ted. And Jocelyn, if you want to give us a little bit about your background and what you're doing today in activism world.
Sure. I work with Food and Water Watch New Jersey. And Food and Water Watch is, we're a national organization. We work to mobilize people to reclaim their political power, to hold our elected officials accountable, and protect our democracy and our planet from corporations and the harm of corporate control. We fight for solutions to the most pressing food, water, and climate issues of our time. In New Jersey, we have campaigns mostly around resisting fossil fuels and fighting for renewable energy, and also resisting water privatization and the corporate takeover of water resources. And I'm the South Jersey regional organizer, if I didn't say that.
Okay, thanks. And Ruben, give us a little bit about your background and who you're working with now, and what you're up to.
Well, yeah, I mean, personally, my activism began about 7 years ago with Occupy Wall Street. And then from there, I began joining different movements. I went from Occupy to the $15 minimum wage. And then just 2 years after Occupy, Black Lives Matter started, and I latched onto that. And I also latched onto the climate change movement, because I always thought that was a very important issue, because it's very, it's very global and affects everything else. And also it's very existential as well, because it affects all life on Earth. And from there, I joined the People's Climate March in New York, in Washington, D.C. And then I also joined Flood Wall Street in New York City. And right now I'm involved with Extinction Rebellion, pretty much like the beginning stages of organizing Extinction Rebellion in the United States, which originally began in Great Britain about 3 or 4 months ago. So, I mean, I'm pretty much part of the core group that's involved in bringing this movement that began in the UK and the United States. And our plan is to do civil disobedience, to bring attention to climate change, and hopefully bring it to the level that it becomes a national and global emergency in which the world's governments would take the necessary measures to prevent, an apocalyptic future that all humanity and all life on Earth face. So, and I'm also right now involved working as a union organizer with SEIU, but I'm only going to be with them for 3 months. My main task is to be an underground or undercover union organizer with Millie Unite here, but I could also do the same thing with SEIU, but working as a regular worker in the shop and organizing from the inside, which also gives you a unique perspective as opposed to just being paid staff. You kind of get detached from the workers, but if you're working within the workers themselves, you get their perspective, and it's a lot easier to organize from within. So that's pretty much my summary in regards to activism, and I look forward to continue being involved. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, great. And I think what you guys have all touched on with, past movements, current movements, what you've done, what's going on now. I wanted to talk about things like, Extinction Rebellion, the youth climate strike. I think a lot of this new movement has been energized by Greta Thunberg and has started these movements internationally. And for those of you that don't know, Greta, I believe she's 16 years old.
That's correct.
Yeah, and she has started really energizing the youth. And I think even from what, Ted was saying, that the numbers are growing, I'm also glad to see younger people out there. So what do you guys think we can do to energize people? Because as you guys have all touched on, and we all know, we are in dire straits right now. We don't have a minute to waste. But sadly, it seems like we haven't woken up the masses yet. So what do you guys think? What do we need to do? Do we need to escalate or escalate our activism, take more extreme measures? What do you guys think? Ted?
Oops, sorry. Sorry for the dead sound there. Well, we definitely need to constantly really keep engaging in civil disobedience, nonviolent civil disobedience on this issue, because it is an urgent issue. And one of the most effective ways to communicate an issue that's urgent is through nonviolent civil disobedience, through putting your body on the line, risking arrest, going to jail if necessary. That's in the context of the United States, it's true elsewhere, but definitely in the context of the United States, that's part of our history. So that's another reason why it's a good tactic, because it is part of our history, going way back to Thoreau and the abolitionists and so on.
Mm-hmm.
So that's very key. That's very key. I think it's the Extinction Rebellion movement is it's a good development. I hope that can grow and develop. I think what the youth organization Sunrise did 1 week after the election in November, after the Democrats took control of the House away from the Republicans, the young people from the Sunrise movement occupied Nancy Pelosi's office. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez came and joined them there in her office, a very risky but a really courageous and very positive action on her part. And they brought forward the Green New Deal, the idea of the Green New Deal, which has continued to grow and develop. It has a ways to go before it's going to happen, but I think that's one of the examples. Also, Greta Thunberg with what she's been doing with her every Friday strikes, not going to school. Those are examples of really a very key element of what's necessary. I will say just one more thing. I see in my following of this issue that this has become a much more broadly understood issue. I think the polls show that many more people are concerned about this. That's translated into different types of activism and activities and kind of personal life changes that people are making. And it's also translating into this issue right now being one of the top issues within the process of the Democratic primary, the presidential primaries. It's one of the top issues, and it's being out there now, being talked about, and candidates talking about it in a way that has never happened before. So that's a good sign.
Yeah, we have to keep it out there, because our mainstream media doesn't seem to, and I'm sure it's because of their corporate dollars. So it's up to our voices and the activist voices, whether it be occupying an office or taking more extreme activist measures to keep these issues in the public eye. Now, Jocelyn, you are a little bit more in the younger set. So are you seeing a change? How do you feel about engaging with youth, and what's going on in your organization with youth right now?
Yeah, I'm incredibly inspired by the youth activism that's happening right now around climate. And I see a huge difference even from, when I was in high school and in college to what really teenagers are coming out and doing right now. It feels to me like we're seeing a generation that's, growing up and growing into political consciousness post-Occupy, and in this age of the rise of the Black Lives Matter movement, and just that there are so many things that young folks from groups like Sunrise and Youth Climate Strike that I've seen just seem to understand about the root causes of the problems that we're really facing. That's incredibly inspiring to me. Which are, naming the corporations that are driving climate change, and naming capitalism and white supremacy as part of the root causes of this crisis, as well as just the boldness that these young people are bringing, and how unafraid they are to call out elected leaders who are not doing the responsible thing and not addressing this crisis for what it is, which is a climate genocide that we're living through now. So yeah, I mean, I don't have, the movement history to have seen so many different phases of environmental movement. But I'm just incredibly inspired by the youth right now. I think everyone in this movement should be listening to the leadership of these young people.
Yeah. Perhaps we have to follow them instead of trying to get them to follow us, right? And I know Ruben and I were both in New York City on Friday with the youth climate strike that began in Columbus Circle and then went to the Museum of Natural History. And I was interviewing some of these youth, and I was really amazed at the information they had and the way they could explain and the sense of urgency that they all had, which was absolutely, spot on. And I like the fact that with Sunrise Movement, and we had that scene with the really young children, younger than teenage children, in front of Senator Diane Feinstein, and they weren't being disrespectful at all, but I was just so glad to hear their voices and just really challenging Senator Feinstein. And we need to empower these young people that their voices can be heard, because maybe, and I'm a Gen Xer, so I'll say I'm not going to take full blame for climate chaos, because we had a bigger generation before us, but we're all in this together. We're trying our best. But we have to empower these youth, and there's no reason we can't call out our senators, as some of the youth with Senator Diane Feinstein said. You're supposed to work for us. You represent us, even the children, though Senator Feinstein might think she doesn't have to represent the interests of the children. It was beautiful to see that they were calling her out in a polite and respectful way. Ruben, your thoughts, and especially with our actions on Friday, supporting and trying to amplify the voices of the youth in New York City on Friday, and in general, what is your take?
Well, I mean, considering how dire the situation is right now, I think I've never seen anything more hopeful and more inspiring than what I saw on Friday. It's just seeing, just wave after wave of kids coming out of school, marching out in Central Park West. I mean, just coming down. You saw blocks after blocks of kids, and it just kept on snowballing. The kids coming out of school and joining the march as it went by to the Museum of Natural History. That was just amazing. I mean, it just shows how much these kids, they realize how dire the situation is, and how much it affects their future that they're going to grow up in. And I feel that we as adults, we have to follow their lead. And eventually, I mean, I'm hoping this movement grows. The kids skipping school, that was started in Sweden by what's her name, Greta Thunberg, 16-year-old girl who was nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize. I mean, it's just amazing.
Yeah.
And I feel like this movement will grow eventually. I mean, there might be another one that's planned in May, I believe.
Oh, good.
And I'm hoping that eventually, as this movement grows, that adults follow their lead, and that they themselves go on strike, and then we actually, paralyze the system directly. In addition to acts of civil disobedience, which include, blocking roads, things of that nature. I think we should definitely escalate, considering how dire climate change is at the moment, how much more dire it will become as time goes by. Because literally, this is a race against time, and that's why I like about Extinction Rebellion's logo. They literally have an hourglass that represents that time is running out. And I feel that this is definitely a race against time. We can't just stand by and wait. We actually have to take action right now. We have to escalate even more to the point that we eventually shut down the system and change it into something that's much better, that actually, cares about humans and all life on this planet, as opposed to profit and Wall Street greed. That's how I feel. And I feel that the students, I mean, the youth are definitely going to lead this attack against the system, and it's happening right now. I just feel, and like I said, it's the most inspiring thing I've ever seen in my life. These young 13 to 17-year-olds doing things that most adults, I mean, they're either too afraid or apathetic or too busy focusing on their lives to even think about doing. I mean, I just thought that was amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm hoping that's the start of something that, would actually save humanity and save all life on Earth. I mean, I just feel that's a very important moment in history. That's what I feel. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just, yeah, there's just was such an energy about them, and they get it. My generation, I think we get it. But I guess even the millennials, the sense of urgency of the generation coming up right behind us all. It's beautiful to watch. And I think, perhaps May Day, May 1st, I don't know if there's been a call to it, but there, maybe a general strike of all workers, all ages, whether you're a worker or not a worker, find a way to strike and take action. Now I'm wondering if we could get a little bit more into our nuts and bolts of what we do and what we've done in the past with actions and activism. So maybe we can go around and list your favorite action. And I know I have so many actions that I love. So, you could say 2 or 3, but maybe with your favorite action, what was it that made that action, just stick with you? And I'm assuming it's one of your favorite actions because it worked somewhat. So I think we lost Ruben for a moment. I think he's going to be back on. That's why in general we need activists to donate to their orgs and also donate to NJ Revolution Radio, because we are indie media. We don't get corporate money, but we have to get these stories out and our activist voices heard. So we'll mix up the order a little bit. Jocelyn, what were some of your favorite actions and what made them your favorite?
Ooh, it's a big question. Yeah, for me, just thinking about, many actions I've been to and some of the qualities that I think make a really powerful, compelling action. I think actions are good when they send a very clear message, and also when they come with a very clear demand. And that can come from visuals. I think creative actions are great. I've been a part of actions where, we're delivering a letter to an elected official and come with a giant print up version of the letter, or kind of gag gifts or visuals that that make a clear statement in a creative. And I think it's important that people seeing the action know what it is you're asking. And to me also, I think a successful action should be polarizing in 2 ways. It should put pressure on the decision maker who you're targeting, or whether that's an elected official, body of elected officials, or other target, and push that person to make a decision. And it also, if done right, it should be somewhat polarizing to the public who see the action and have to also make a decision about where they stand on an issue. I'm also a big fan of actions that involve song.
Chants and songs.
Yeah, chants as well.
Right?
I think there's something so powerful about singing, and also that we have such a legacy of song and organizing, in this country as well.
Protest, yeah. So can you think of one favorite action, or even your most recent favorite action you were involved with? All of them. Okay.
Oh boy. I'm trying to think of a favorite action with Food and Water Watch, but I had the opportunity to be at the Youth Climate Strike in Philly on Friday.
Great.
I'm just still kind of riding the high of how powerful that experience was. And they had singing, they had so many just creative signs and art. And it was so clear what the demands were. And you know, just as we were speaking about, do we need to escalate our movements? You know, I think we're also very much at a point where we need to escalate our demands, because we're just so far past the point where, you know, where we can be calling for things that are half measures or that are really anything short of ceasing all fossil fuel extraction and transitioning to 100% renewable energy. And that message also came across so clearly both in what these youth were saying and what the visuals were. Yeah, right now, that's my favorite action that I've been to recently.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes that happens because I know we've all been doing this stuff for a while, and sometimes it's like your last one gave you that kind of rush and high, and that's your favorite one. So more actions are coming, and those will be your next favorite ones. And I know you talked about clear demands. One thing I like about Extinction Rebellion, and I think the youth were going with 2030, but I love Extinction Rebellion because they go with 2025 for being basically off fossil fuels, and the push for renewables. And I think we don't have a minute to waste. So, and I think that's good. It used to be a push to get people to say 2030. So now we're getting people to say 2030, 2025, let's say now, right? Now, Ted, what was your favorite action? And it'll be interesting. Is it your last one as well? Because they're all wonderful, right?
Yeah.
Like
Actually,
children, you can't pick one.
No. Actually, I have been going through you know, kind of major actions over my life, and the one that I think is probably either at the top or one of the ones at the top is a week of nonviolent direct action to shut down the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission that I helped to organize and was part of it was in November of 2014.
Yep.
This was with the organization Beyond Extreme Energy that I know you know about, Diane.
Yeah. My daughter and I were down there for that. Yeah.
Were you there at that one in November of 2014?
Yeah.
Okay.
My daughter
right.
participated in the first day of civil disobedience.
So what was so good about it was, first of all, we blockaded all the entrances to a FERC, Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, which is the entity that rubber stamps expansion of fracking and the frack gas industry, what's so-called natural gas industry, methane gas industry. That's what they are. They're rubber stamped. They've approved virtually every single project that industry has wanted to build over the last 30 years, with maybe 2 exceptions. So it's a big problem. And so the movement that was gathering and has continued to develop since that time, that was fighting fracking and fracking infrastructure and so on, fossil fuel infrastructure. Some of us gathered down there. We had, I think, somewhere around 75 people who were arrested over the course of 5 days of demonstrating, taking action, blocking the doors. And by the last day, this was kind of the big highlight, by the 5th day, we were there Monday through Friday. On the 5th day, we had figured out a way to blockade all 3 entrances. There was a vehicle entrance into a garage underneath the building, and then there were 2 pedestrian entrances. And we were able to do a pretty good job. We had enough people to blockade the 2 pedestrian entrances, but we were having a big problem with the driveway down into the garage, and that's where the cops were taking people. The workers were getting in that way. So we figured out a lockdown with lock boxes, and I believe Matt Smith, as a matter of fact, from Food and Water Watch, was part of the lockdown action.
Wow.
On that 5th day. And we kept hundreds of FERC employees out of that building for about 2.5 hours before eventually people were kind of hauled out and hauled away. And we did an impromptu teach-in on the sidewalk for these FERC employees. We had people there from Pennsylvania, from the fracking fields of Pennsylvania, you know, pouring their heart out about what it meant to live in an area where your water was poisoned, your air was poisoned, and animals died, and you had to move, and so on and so on. And that week of action just kind of jump-started this whole campaign that's been going on against FERC and kind of linking together groups fighting against fracking and fracking infrastructure. So it was a very good action. It's a great action.
Yeah, I remember that. And I think it just had everything, because you had, sadly, it takes arrests, but you had high numbers of arrests, so people willing to put their bodies on the line. You had, I can still remember one woman's face when she was telling the story about what had happened to her family farm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and,
Maggie Henry.
Yeah, I still get choked up thinking about, just those, putting a face to all these terrible things that we hear.
Right.
That stays with me, almost 5 years later. And then something with what Jocelyn was talking about, there was some beautiful art. I remember we had, and I always joke that activists, the best place to live is New Jersey, because we have access to these wonderful art activists in New York City that give us support. We can get to DC in a day. And Jocelyn, as she said, she was in Philly on Friday. But we had, what organization? I know
it was the Sane Energy Project, Kim Frakchek.
Yes.
They're part of Beyond Extreme Energy. They were part of this action, and they had these great props, beautiful props that had combined art with great messaging. They were really good.
And that's what, talking about a successful action, you need, the messaging. And we had the little extra by these people's heartbreaking stories. There was chants and songs and the most beautiful art. I know the first day we assembled a town in front of one of the,
that's right, in
front of one of the entrances. We all had a piece of, small town America, and then the law enforcement to, bully and grab activists were then sort of stampeding on the town and destroying the town, as is what climate chaos and, mass stamping all these permits to kill our farms, to kill our water, that's what it's doing to us, right? So it was as if the law enforcement on the spot gave us exactly what's happening to all of us right now. That was a great week. So Ruben, you left us for a moment. What we're doing. I had my tech problems. Yep.
Yeah, I'm gonna warn you. I mean, my phone could run out of battery at any moment. So.
Okay. So what we were talking about now is, your favorite actions, and you could even just bring in there what we've been talking about is like what makes a good, strong action. What do we need? Because we're in. We don't have a second to waste. So we're even sharing stories with our audience. So what do we do? And what do you love in an action? What do they need?
Well, I mean, I have many favorite actions considering I've been to so many the last 7 years. I would say my favorite actions are the last two. I mean, like the J26 Day of Rebellion for Extinction Rebellion, which was the first main action, for Extinction Rebellion US. I thought that was one of my favorites because we got to block a street for 20 minutes. And we also got
that's like unheard of. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and it wasn't just any street. We're talking about Fifth Avenue, which is a major artery in New York City.
Yep.
We created this traffic jam, just 8 of us, with 2 giant banners. We pretty much shut down this avenue and created a lot of chaos, but also a lot of attention to this new group called Extinction Rebellion. And now I guess everybody who saw us, I guess they know us now. And also, not only that, but we managed to, prove to the system we can shut down one of your arteries to prove the point that, climate change is a problem and we need to do something about it right now. Yeah. So I just thought, even though it didn't get that much media coverage, it kind of got twisted in the media because a lot had to do with our own element of surprise and also the fact we didn't alert the press, etc.
Yeah.
Despite all that,
the 9 of us were not on the Prometheus statue.
Right. We climbed the statue. Yeah, right. Of course. We weren't on the statue. No, we weren't. Absolutely not. But
yeah, just so our viewers know, there was a simultaneous action happening at Rockefeller Center ice skating rink, and they did the XR symbol on the rink. And then one of our brave activists hung a banner from the Prometheus statue. So talking about, you want to grab an iconic image, that is one thing that helped us. And then the beautiful images of the banners across Fifth Avenue, because that's an iconic image. Yeah.
Yeah, and even though like the Rockefeller Plaza direct action didn't work out as planned, I mean, aside from the statue jump and the banner drop on the statue of Prometheus, I thought it was a great image. You had the banner that says "Climate Change equals Mass Murder" on the statue, and you also had the XR logo, which hopefully becomes a household name by the end of the year. It was actually drawn out with bodies on the ice rink right under the statue. I thought that was a beautiful image.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that the direct action kind of failed, nobody got arrested for being on the ice. It still sent out a beautiful, iconic image that once you look at it, it's going to stay in your mind for a while. I mean, I thought that was the type of image it was. And I thought the direct action blocking the road was amazing, even though like it didn't get the attention it deserved. I thought it was kind of like a test run of what this movement could do in the future. To pretty much compel the government or the establishment or the elite to actually act on climate change. I mean, I think it's going to require a lot of tactics such as that, which actually disrupt the system, disrupt business as usual. It could actually force the powers that be to change. It's the only way it'll happen. It was the only way that's ever happened in history. That's how I feel.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that was my favorite action. Yeah.
See, I like that. How like, some of us, it's like I said, our actions are like our children. We can't pick one. So it's
and I thought the children's action was great because we actually got arrested in front. I mean, we got arrested in front of the kids, and I thought that shows a great example of, we show the kids like this is what you need to do to really like get the attention of the powers that be in order to make change in society. I thought it was a great example. I loved like how the kids. I mean, not only did they show us how to pretty much go on strike, we showed them how to get the attention by getting arrested.
Yeah.
There's kind of like a little trade-off there, and
we help each other.
Absolutely, yeah. I thought it was amazing how the kids reacted to that. I mean, they were pretty much like supportive of us. They thought it was like the coolest thing they've ever seen in their life. Pretty much, adults getting arrested by breaking the law for a good cause. And hopefully that inspires a lot of future activists. I mean, or present activists. I mean, I can't say they're future activists; they're present activists.
We need all hands on deck, right? We need
Absolutely. I mean, that's the motto I'm using right now. Yeah, this is a planetary emergency. We need all hands on deck. So if you're human, you live on planet Earth, you should definitely do something to change this problem, to fix this problem. It's affecting all of us. Yeah.
Yeah, and our viewers know I also work with Extinction Rebellion, and so I'm going to throw this out. We're going to go around the panel. But Extinction Rebellion in New York City is having a big day of action on April 17th. It's not a secret that people are, there is an ask for people to get arrested because unfortunately, that's what we need to get people's attention and to get media attention. We don't do it because we want to. We do it because we now feel like we have to. So please go to Extinction Rebellion. What is the website, Ruben?
XRR.NYC. That's the website for Extinction Rebellion New York City. You're going to get all the information there. Yeah.
I know Ruben will be there. I know I will be there. There's other great activists from New York and New Jersey who will be there. So please sign up and join us.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
And also I mean,
too, right?
I'm sorry?
It'll be a lot of fun too.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is a very fun process. Changes the world, I think, should be a fun process too. And then also, like, it gets a lot of angst off your body that you feel about these issues, when you're actually out there activated, as opposed to just internalizing everything and, I guess, possibly falling into depression, because this is a very pressing issue. This is a very pressing issue. I mean, all activism is very pressing. These issues that we're tackling, they're
and I'm sure all of us as activists, we talk about activism burnout, and another panel will have to talk about that. But one thing that happens with me, with activist burnout, with news chaos burnout, the one thing I get positive energy from is being around my wonderful, beautiful comrades at Actions.
Absolutely, so, the camaraderie.
Viewers out there, come out on April 17th, because you will get re-energized and be with wonderful, wonderful people.
Yep, absolutely.
Yep.
Did I mention an action coming up too?
Absolutely, Ted. I'm sorry. Yep, meant to go around the room. See, we get caught up in all of this wonderful energy. So go ahead, Ted. Tell us what you're working on and what's
Yeah,
coming up. What do we
one of
need
the
to
things
know?
I haven't talked about that has been a big focus of mine here in New Jersey since 2013 is trying to first stop and then trying to watchdog a gas compressor station. A compressor station is what pushes the gas along. In a gas pipeline, you need them every 40 to 60 to 80 miles, depending upon the topography and all, to push gas along, natural gas, frac gas through a pipeline. And there was one, unfortunately, we tried to stop it from being built in Roseland, New Jersey in 2013. We couldn't do it. We got involved too late when they already had all their permits. There's now an effort underway by the same company, Williams. It's one of the major pipeline builders, to more than double the size of this compressor station in Roseland. They actually are starting some construction this week, even though there is an appeal that we've put into the state DEP, the Department of Environmental Protection, that gave them water permits that they needed. So because they, in order to keep up the pressure, there is a lot of pressure that we're putting on both the governor and the DEP, calling upon them to take away this permit, to stop the construction, and for that matter, to enact a moratorium on all of the proposed fossil fuel projects, which in New Jersey are pretty much all gas projects. So there's a demonstration that we're having at the Roseland compressor site on March 28th, next Thursday at 4 p.m., 4 to 6 p.m. And the address is 563 Eagle Rock Avenue in Roseland. We'll be demonstrating along the sides of actually a pretty heavily traveled street at that time, so we'll reach a lot of people going by with our signs and the cars. So, and there is a Facebook page, Roseland Against Compressor Station, where people can find out more. We'll be sure to post that.
Okay, and we'll try to drop that in our links for this stream. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you for being on our stream, and keep up the good work. And Jocelyn, what are you working on right now, and do you have an upcoming event?
Well, Food and Water Watch has been involved, along with TED and over 60 other groups across New Jersey in the Empower New Jersey Coalition, calling for a moratorium on all new fossil fuel projects in the state. And so an ongoing action that we've been doing is Moratorium Mondays, where we're asking people to call the governor every Monday. I'm just trying to get as many hundreds of people as we can to keep that pressure on him and demand a moratorium on all new fossil fuels. And so if you actually text the phrase "no fossil fuels" to 69866, you can sign up to get a weekly text alert just reminding you to make that call to the governor, demand that fossil fuel moratorium. So that's been a big part of what Food and Water Watch is working on right now. I also briefly mentioned earlier that another big issue that we take on is fighting the corporate control of water. And so that's also been something that I've been working on in Camden, protecting the people's right to public water, which is not, we've been talking about halting climate change, and so that is more an issue on the side of dealing with what we're going to face as the climate changes and water becomes more scarce. So it's a little bit of a different kind of environmental issue, but
it's all linked, sure.
It's certainly linked. And so just to name that as something that I am working on. And so I actually have a forum on water privatization happening in Camden on Saturday, the 30th. So any Camden folks watching this feed, it'll be at noon at the Cruz Perez Library downtown in Camden. Come learn about water privatization.
Is there a Facebook event people can search for?
There is. It's on the Food and Water Watch New Jersey Facebook page.
Okay. And I know we have viewers in the Camden area, so please look for that. Thank you so much, and thank you for what you do for the planet, and continue doing that. Ruben, I know I was making my plea for bodies at Extinction Rebellion on April 17th, but do you want to add anything else about anything else coming up or with Extinction Rebellion?
I think that's pretty much all I know right now. Like, that's the next big event, April 17th. From now, it's just going to be building, outreach, and pretty much building up, like, trying to get numbers and pretty much rest That's another thing. Rest before this big event on April 17th.
Yes.
That's pretty much what's going to happen right now. There's no major events that I know of yet. Maybe there's events in other cities.
Mm-hmm.
But as of now, like that's the main event to look forward to right now. April 17th.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And I
But
know.
Mhm.
Sorry.
And also,
go ahead.
if you're interested in joining this, I highly encourage you to go on the website for more information. And hopefully, we're gonna have like recruiting booths popping up around the country soon. You know, like we had in New York City a few days ago in front of Army Recruiting Center. So kind of like a mocking gesture. You know, there was a bit of a theater, which was also an outreach opportunity to actually, so recruiting station was set up in front of the military recruiting station, but it was for Extinction Rebellion.
Yeah,
And in doing so, we recruited about 20 new people.
Excellent.
Sure, yeah, go ahead, yeah.
Yeah, I just want to kind of, I mean, setting up tables on street corners, going door to door in strategic ways, depending upon whatever the campaign it is that you're doing. Those are two really important ways of doing outreach. There's absolute, I mean, there's nothing that beats face-to-face contact. You can definitely reach a lot of people through social media, through the internet, through email. Definitely, we all use that tool, but ultimately, unless we're doing this face-to-face work of reaching out to new people, talking to them, answering their questions, encouraging them, trying to move them along in their consciousness and get them to do whatever they're willing to do at this particular point in time, try to get them onto the road of being more active. Unless we're doing that continual outreach as much as we can, we're not going to win. So, I just wanted to pick up on your, Extinction Rebellion, doing the table there on the street corner. That's a good thing to do.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. And so far, it seems very effective, and also, it seems that we got their information. It's also important to actually keep in touch with them. If we have their phone numbers, make sure to call them.
Right.
Individual, like direct one-on-one. Yep.
Yep, it's very important.
Thank you guys so much for being on this evening, and I can't thank the three of you enough for the work that you do, and sometimes it's about putting our bodies on the line. I can't thank you guys enough for the work you have done and the work I know we're all going to continue doing. We're just entering spring, and this is activist season. So I know I'll see some of you on the streets, and I hope I see some of our viewers on the streets. So thank you so much, guys.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
Thank
you,
you, Diane.
Diane.
Take care.
Bye.